Welcome to Ask the Expert with noted radio host Steve Sleeper. Each week, Steve interviews entrepreneurs and professionals and shares their intriguing stories of success and service. Now, here's radio veteran Steve Sleeper.
And welcome to another edition of Ask the Expert. Our guest today is Robert Howk with the Howk and Downing Law Office in Fresno, California. Robert, how you doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself and your firm.
Well, I started the firm back in 1995, so it's been in operation for 21 years now. And for a number of years, I've always done some estate planning and worked along and did a lot of insurance defense in the area of fraud claims. And then I've evolved into doing primarily elder law and VA benefits, and my wife is my partner, very good attorney. She came on board in 2005, and we've restricted our practice to that of doing wills, trusts, estates, cutting edge, which is life care planning, excuse me, and VA benefits. And mostly now that I'm cutting back a little bit on my practice, I'm doing most of the VA work in the office. So, the VA meaning Veterans Administration.
Veterans Administration, right. And what are some of the benefits available to veterans?
Well, actually, it can vary from state to state because California has a State Department of Veterans Affairs, and it's a very active and it's a very good program, and they are responsible for the veteran service officers. Every county has one. They may not be full-time, but every county has one. And then there's the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. It's been in the news a lot. It has its, shall we say, challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It is at times exceedingly difficult to deal with. They are very slow. They lose a great many of the documents and stuff we send to them, although we send everything certified mail. But when you get into the benefits, they center around burial benefits. People can do the burial benefits. You got to pay for it first, send them the proof, and then they'll reimburse you to certain amounts. There is educational benefits, both at the state and the federal level. For the state of California, one of the additional veterans benefits on education is that if you have even a 0% disability, I'm sure we'll talk about the ratings a little later on, but a zero disability means, yes, you have changed because of your time in the service in some way, shape, form, or fashion. It can be a scar, it can be anything. It's not rateable, it's 0%, but in the state of California, that is a tuition waiver for your children for any state-sponsored community college, any of the state college systems, or any of the University of California systems, up through and including grad school. Tuition waiver is not a full ride scholarship, but if the tuition's paid, it's a lot easier to cope with things. Then you have veterans loans. We don't mess with any of that. The more common ones, the two most common ones are aid and attendance, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. It's a three-pronged test to meet that thing. You have to serve in certain times. You have to have certain physical limitations and or be housebound, and then you have to have a financial need. And then there's compensation. The compensation doesn't care where you served, when you served. It'll pay you for any injury that you sustained while you were in the service, especially if it's disabling later in life. And it doesn't have to be occurred in combat. It could be, you could be on leave and going home and be involved in a car accident and have some type of permanent, say, spine damage or something like that. They will still compensate you for that because that was like workers' compensation. Well, unlike workers' compensation, it applies 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So those, unless it's a self-inflicted or you were drunk or doing something you shouldn't have done at the time, they will pay for that injury. And those are rated in for 10% increments from 0 to 100. And it depends, like a 10% rating, or 10% rating is about $130 a month to the top end, and the compensation is right around $3,000 approximately. And you can vary that depending upon whether you need help with the aid and attendance part. You can increase your compensation rate a little bit. And that's kind of a very brief overall. If you like doing your own income tax, and your frustration level, if you're a vet, your PTSD level allows you to do such things. You can work with them yourselves, but for aid and attendance, figure about 2 months to get it processed through, because those are processed on a priority basis. And if you go to compensation, count on anywhere from 2 years to 10, depending upon how hard the VA fights with you.
Well, and this really folds into our next question, because you were really talking about that. But, why should a vet hire an attorney to make sure they're getting their benefits?
There's a number of reasons. First and the foremost is that it is a complex process. It's the same reason most people don't do their own income tax. It takes a lot to keep up on it. We spend anywhere from 3 to 6 days a year just going and learning the process. Plus, we are on a national group, and I'll give a plug for the National Organization of Veterans Advocates, NOVA for short. And it is a group of us that work with veterans benefits, and we keep up on the cutting edge of it. For an example, two of the attorneys in this group took on the case of women who had been raped while in the service and had PTSD claims, and they took that up on appeal 3 times before they won it. Each time the appeals court sent it back to the VA and told them to rate it, each time the VA fought with it. So unless you're good at that type of legal work, filing your own claim is one thing. Pursuing it when they've underrated you or they've turned you down is an entirely different thing. That becomes more of a legal field. And that's where you need to have somebody come into it. And my clients have included people in law enforcement, people from all walks of life, people in business who had, most often it's a PTSD claim, the back injuries and things like that. Fairly straightforward, although I do get those from time to time. And I have a gentleman now I'm working with that the VA has said 3 different parts of his body are rated at 30, or no, four different parts of his body are rated at 30%, yet they won't give him a 100% rating. I don't understand the VA's concept, so we've got to fight with them on that, and that involves researching case law and going forward. The hard part of this is that if you go to a hearing with the VA, the only judges that hear these cases are all in Washington, D.C., which means you've got to travel to a regional VA center. Closest one to us is Oakland or Los Angeles, and go there, sit in a room, and do a televised conference with the VA judge. Now, we got them to do one. I had a case on the PTSD for a Marine, and we raised him from 40% to 100% over a series of appeals. The difference between that is enormous, because at the top end it's 3,000, at the bottom end it's nothing. So someplace in between. Very important that you get this. And the other thing is there are nuances that you may not understand. For instance, if you have a 40% disability rating, which prevents you from working. Say you're a carpenter, you got a 40% because you're right-hand dominant and you can't work. That can be elevated to 100%, even if you're retired.
No.
That's a key thing. Or you can have a combined rating of 70% with various different things, one of which has to be 40, and the total of those combined say that you cannot work. We see this a lot with people with PTSD. They may have hearing loss. They may have some back injury or leg injury or some other such thing, but they can't work anymore because their temperament doesn't allow it. And that means even if you were working at a job where your employer makes a spot for you knowing that you have these problems and they're willing to work with it, they can still be classified as unemployable. And that unemployable category will raise you to 100%. The difference in this for people is at 100% rating, and from 70 to 100, the benefits start going up. But at 100% rating, if you maintain that rating for 10 years, or if you die because of something related to those injuries, for Vietnam veterans, this could be heart conditions related to exposure to Agent Orange, which also was in the DMZ, also in Okinawa. Then your wife will get a TRICARE for life kind of get a health insurance for life policy. Very, very valuable in this day and age. Plus, your spouse will get an income called DIC, which is a form of compensation, it's dependence, income, and compensation, to help carry her forward in her life. And that can be a big benefit to your family. I mean, and it's something we strive for. One of my friends in Rotary was a Vietnam vet, has some heart conditions, and we got him rated at 100%. What he didn't understand is that his wife got health care too. And in this day and age, that's a big thing.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge. Okay, so does this, one of the terms I saw out there was the VA unemployability compensation, and you were talking about that. So anything to add to that as to what that is?
Well, what it means for the VA is concerned, like I was saying, is it means that you're unemployable, or that you're in such a niche that your employer, like I'm self-employed at the VA, would consider me. I could still be considered unemployable because I can't work with other people. I'm speaking from personal experience. I have a certain level of PTSD, and it's hard for me to maintain staff. I have my paralegal, Jennifer, has been with us now for 6 going on 7 years. She's in her second year, will start her third year of law school. Great young lady, but I burn through assistants and stuff at the rate of about every 2 years because of temperament. Now, if I wasn't working for myself, if I was working someplace else like I did for insurance companies, I changed jobs every 2-3 years. That could be considered unemployable.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that explains it. I'm sorry. Did you have something else to say, Robert? I interrupted.
No. Okay. That's fine. No,
yeah.
Steve.
Okay. What's the improved pension benefit?
Okay. Improved pension benefit is what has been marketed heavily. The people who do it, we refer to them as pension poachers. And if you served during one of the war periods, and I think you can find them on our website, 90 consecutive days, not in training. It can't be National Guard, go on a training thing for 3 months. That won't count. But you had to be actual service, 90 days, one of which falls within the magic periods of time, either the Second World War periods, either the Korean War, Vietnam, or the Gulf War. And what happens is that if you meet that qualification, that's one of the 3 qualifications. The second of the 3 is you must have a medical need. Either you're housebound, you can't drive anymore, they've taken away your driver's license, you're too old, you're too infirm, whatever, but you can't drive. Housebound is one of those improved pension benefits. And then the other is you have a medical need. You have to have a couple of medical needs of the what I refer to as the ADLs. You need help dressing, bathing, you need help with your finances, one we don't like to talk about, and I'll talk about that later if you like. And then you can't care for yourself, you can't clean your house, you can't get dressed, you can't do your laundry. These things are all your average daily living chores. Mm-hmm. If you can't do 2 or more of those, and generally it was thought when this program was instituted, this would be for people in nursing homes or people were getting care at home and just couldn't meet the medical expense. Your medical expenses have to exceed your income.
I see. Okay.
Okay, and so this is where the pension poaching part comes in. There are people who will come in, and you can do it, and I've done it too on cases, and you can say, we're going to create an irrevocable trust, transfer the money. There is no look back currently with the VA. So you do it May 1st. June 1st, you apply for aid and attendance. You say, look, I don't have any money. I bring in $3,000 a month. My outgo is $3,400 a month. I will get aid and attendance. And it will depend upon that medical expense as to how much you're going to get. And that's why I won't give out any exact figures. Because that medical expense is a key thing. You meet all those requirements, then you get it. What happens is people sell annuities to people. I've got a hard spot in my heart for the people who sell annuities generally. The commissions can be anywhere from 10 to 15% of the annuity sold. So if they sell a $300,000 annuity, they're anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000. Hence, you understand why they can pay for these nice dinners at these places, because they get two or three of you to do it, and they've had an $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 night.
Yeah, yeah.
And 10 a year, you're okay. Now you're looking at some real money.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that once your money's in that, then you can't get it back out. There are penalty periods and things like that to go along with it. And when I do it with trust, I've done annuities with qualified annuity people. They're very hard to find. I give a little plug for the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reforms, a nonprofit group out here. Nova's a nonprofit. They work very hard at providing information to people. So we do some annuity work with, like I say, with qualified annuity people. But I really am hesitant to do a lot of the aid and attendance, because I always try to put, if I do a trust, transfer the money to trust, and have the children pay medical bills or whatever for their parents, we're depending upon that child to do that. And if they decide not to, you've given away the money into an irrevocable trust. You've got to go to court, give the judge a really good reason why you need to set it aside.
Mm-hmm.
And it just creates a problem. And I've had trustees steal from these trusts, which is why we're really reticent to do it. It's something that it's there. It was not intended to do that. And so what's happened now is the VA is entertaining a process where they're going to have a look-back period to see if you've given away money during this time period. And in fact, it was so bad that in California, the legislature enacted a law into the insurance code that provides it to sell an annuity to people like this is a violation of the insurance code, simply to qualify for veterans benefits to bring people in, because it was so abused. It's very important that if you go to one of these seminars, you understand that this is a money-making scam, that there's something in this for these people. And a lot of times they will charge veterans to do the applications, either for aid and attendance or compensation. That's not allowed under federal law. Before George Bush came in, it was a felony crime to do that. They took the criminal statutes off of it, but it's still a violation of law. I have seen cases and heard of cases, personally seen cases where people were charged as much as $10,000 to do the application.
Oh my goodness.
That's supposed to be free.
Yeah.
And we do help people do aid and attendance applications when it's appropriate. So yeah, it can be. It's a process that people need to, if they're looking at aid and attendance, they need to explore it carefully.
Well, lots of things to look out for veterans and dealing with the VA. I appreciate all the information you've given us today, Robert. And Robert Howk with Howk and Downing Law Offices in Fresno, California. Robert, how can we reach you?
You can either reach us, our local phone number is area code 559-229-8109, or you can go onto our website at Howk, HOWK, -Downing, DOWNING.com, and you can get more information there, and you can then request an email contact or visit with us and contact from us, and we will, somebody will get back to you, most likely either Jennifer or our paralegal, or Sally, our assistant up here. We'll get back in touch with you. We'll set up an appointment, talk with you, get you some information, get you some intake sheets so we can see whether or not we can actually help you or not. I'm not here to take money from people for something I can't do. So that's how you get in touch with us.
Okay,
either
great.
Phone us or go into that.
Oh, perfect. Well, hey, thanks for being on the program today.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Expert with Steve Sleeper. Join us next time as entrepreneurs and professionals share their intriguing stories of success and service.